It's not only China sourcing, it's global sourcing. So we do, of course, China is still a strong market for it, but also the ones, for example, who do look into getting out of China. I mean, we do global product sourcing. That's what we're called, Zignify Global Product Sourcing. But what we usually bring to the table is that most of the companies who have either raw material to purchase or they're getting private label products done through third-party manufacturers, they don't usually have the time and or the knowledge of finding about 30 potential producers, contacting them, getting quotations, comparing the quotations, and negotiating one against the other one.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Hey, for a while I've been helping businesses turn around. And, well, the person you're about to hear from, not exactly the same kind of business, definitely related. Name is Sebastian Herz, and you help businesses increase their profits by cutting costs, which is something that every business should be doing on a monthly or at the very least a quarterly basis. Sebastian, it's great to have you on the show. How'd you get into this?
Kerry, thank you so much for this. And I think you hit like a very, very good use case. How do you say this in English? Like you hit a nail on the head. Okay. You should look, of course, especially when it comes to turning your business around, whether you're spending too much or not. And we're a sourcing company, so we're finding manufacturers, negotiating prices and reducing the purchasing cost. That's the ultimate target, of course, for it. And how did we get to this? Well, I got to admit, it's not me, it's my better half. She's been doing sourcing all her life long. I should usually not say that she's been doing sourcing for 20 years, but only 19 years because she's not.
Don't exaggerate.
And we used to both, she's from Russia, I'm from Germany, and we both used to live in China. So really? We got to know each other in China. I'm an electrical engineer and stayed with a large Swiss company for 12 years. And she's been doing sourcing. Then in the end of China, I started building my first private label product business. And all of a sudden, of course, sourcing was one of the topics for myself. And she bothered me 3 times, or bothered is the wrong word, but usually but what can you not do against women?
I don't know.
You can't win against them. So 3 times she asked me, and I said, all right, I'll join you. And this all of a sudden is how we then got together with Zignify Global Product Sourcing into a deeper, more and more sourcing together.
Yeah, never argue with a woman. You can only lose, right?
I like that one. I think that's hitting the nail on the head again.
Yeah.
Nice.
So all right. So you expert in China outsourcing, and it kind of led to this. And what do you think you bring to the table? Like, what is your your avatar, your typical archetypal client who needs you and maybe doesn't know it?
It's not only China sourcing, it's global sourcing. So we do, of course, China is still a strong market for it, but also the ones, for example, who do look into getting out of China. I mean, we do global product sourcing. That's what we're called, Zignify Global Product Sourcing. But what we usually bring to the table is that most of the companies who have either raw material to purchase or they're getting private label products done through third-party manufacturers, they don't usually have the time and or the knowledge of finding about 30 potential producers, contacting them, getting quotations, comparing the quotations, and negotiating one against the other one. So it is something anybody could do on his or her own with a little bit, of course, of sourcing knowledge, negotiation power, etc. But it's just simply really the time that most of the medium and large companies don't have to look into so many potential quotations or finding so many. Because in today's world, it's typical that purchasing staff, whether in large companies or also in small private label businesses, they may get 3 or 4 quotations typically to have a comparison and think we're at the right track. This is usually good for the beginning, but especially when you have products that sell well, or you have issues, of course, with finances, you can look whether your cost of goods sold are too expensive.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, not a secret. I mean, the more quotations you get, the better leverage and negotiation you have, right? And that's the unspoken or spoken truth of what brings success in saving money.
So when you're looking, though, sometimes price could be too cheap or too expensive. Do you usually throw out the cheapest and the highest? How do you do that?
I mean, the target would be, of course, if things go well, out of those 30 potential producers, maybe we'll get 5 to 8 quotations. Maybe if it goes well, or even better, 10 to 12. Maybe if it goes really well, if you're going into China and searching there, maybe you get 15, 20, or 25. So, of course, if you do see where the average usually lays and you see one that really escapes and runs away with extremely low prices, you think like, yeah, there must be something wrong. And then the most expensive and extreme ones that get out of the normal average, of course, you would kick them out as well. But then you'll start looking at the ones which are reasonable. I mean, it may not hurt still to have a look at that, but like you rightly say, it may be if it's extremely cheap or extremely expensive, there's something that's different with that product.
Gotcha. I see. So, yeah, you got to do your due diligence on these potential suppliers, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the other secrets maybe to do is also, if you do this, of course, on your own, kick out any trading companies if you can, if you're willing to take the effort of being responsible, of course, for your product on your own.
Yeah.
Usually say companies, they're moving big boxes, turning them into small boxes and ship them out, and then ask for a hefty 20, 30, 40, 50, 80% margin, or sometimes even more. So trading companies is like a red flag for us, usually, unless a client really wants to have them. We don't need middlemen. Not all the time.
Well, I always learned in college and management, you can get rid of a middleman, but you can't get rid of his function, right?
Yes, but you can change the way how a middleman is being charged or how he charges. Like most of the middlemen would call us as a middleman. Many times they would buy the product and resell it or get a contract for getting a percentage of the order volume. And those are unnecessary costs where I say, for doing that work once, you should always earn so many percent forever.
Yeah.
Just finding a producer on the order volume. That used to be the case, but I think this is something where we're, I would say, revolutionizing the market, and maybe some companies don't like us because of that.
Well, that's their problem. Your duty is to your client to get them the best possible deals to help them maximize their profits, right?
If you ever look for a job, Kerry, that was a very good summary. I don't think I could afford you though, but
yeah, hey, that's what I usually tell clients I don't want to work with. You can't afford me, and that makes them want to work with me more. But hey, story for another day. But look, hey, so what are 3 things that any business could do right now to cut their costs?
Let me ask, where's the audience for you? Mostly in the US, I would assume, right?
In the US, but we got Canadians, and then Europe, we got 3% of the audience in UK, Netherlands, and Germany. So this is really
the majority, of course, for the US and
in Canada. Yeah, 85% is here in North America.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely one of the things I think that applies for anybody is to ask yourself, all right, do I really get the best prices? And I very, very often hear, we're working for such a long time. We're working for 10 years, 15 years with the same supplier. That's usually a sign that you don't have the best prices because, of course, they also want to earn money and something has changed in the market. There are probably more producers in there. And, I mean, we've saved our clients now more than $500 million with a B like Bravo. In
a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, yeah. Indeed. And the second thing, especially when it comes to the US, I would look, I mean, China still is a great country. We've been in there. I mean, politically wise, that may be, of course, different reasons, but what I'm saying in terms of production and etc. It's still a great country. We're still doing about 40% sourcing inside China, which is the largest by far for a single country. But I mean, an economic war always has somewhat been going on between the US and China. But I mean, since Trump back then in 2018 implemented even more anti-dumping tariffs against products from China, the question really comes up as like, okay, can I get this product from a different country but China? Because I think back then it was a $250 or $280 billion market. Who cares about 30 billion, right? that they had at least 25% additional import tax. And please do not make the mistake and cheat on a different tariff code, cheat with a value, so just to get around the anti-dumping tariffs. Because a country does not make any money. A country doesn't have any money. A country has taken taxes, imports.
It takes it off the top.
And if they need money and they'll check you out and they find some mistakes, believe me, they go deeper. We have a few companies, 2 of them are also product businesses. And I mean, us Germans, I think we may be a little bit more afraid or more aware of that compared to what I see a lot of times in the US. But I've gone through customs checks and I'm super happy that they found like minor mistakes, but the minor mistakes, and they started digging. They wanted to see the invoices, the bank transfers, all of those things, and was like, oof, there was one small mistake, paid 1,500 extra, which wasn't really much, but the rest was correct. But if a country wants money, they will go for it.
And they got to pay, a few missed payments there, and they've already paid for your fee, right?
What do you mean, a few missed payments?
Yeah, a few mistaken payments, a few,
Right. I mean, whenever you can optimize
that they made, right?
The right payments, or just looking at the penalties. I mean, yes, you may very simply do it once right. It covers any of the costs that you would have. So one of the ones we said, like, do you really have the best prices? The second time is like, is China the right country? Or for the simple reason, a government does not tax a product. A government taxes a product from a specific country. So that same, I give you one example. One of our, they do beauty accessories, also German guys selling in the US, selling over their own webpage. I think that year back then was like $30 million. Was like, hats off, guys. You really know how to do marketing. And we found the product actually even $1 cheaper in Vietnam and 0% import tariffs. And they saved $810,000 alone on import tariffs. Wow. The whole year with the products that we optimized, they save $14 million by finding a cheaper supplier and no import taxes from Vietnam. And the third thing I would say is that you can do, besides that, get more quotations, find more suppliers and ask around, and or go in with your existing supplier and say, guys, we've been doing business for so long together. I do understand here and there and this and that, but you know what? We have a lot of other offers as well, if that is true. Can we do something about the price? Really, the simple thing of just asking, even on the next order, even if it's the same amount of units that you're ordering. Our own team got for our own products, I think that one day was like a three order row. I think in average 14.8% saved just by asking. It was like, wow, that's a lot of additional savings.
Well, we had a saying in law school, if you don't ask, you don't get.
True. Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
That's so true.
That's absolutely true. I mean, what you need to do is, business is done between people. And if people don't talk to one another, that's why, I'm not really afraid of AIs taking over all those negotiations. It will be people in the end still communicating with one another and deciding whether I do want to take that business from you for the amount of money you're offering me or not.
So true. Yeah.
And another good phrase in general out there is, you may have heard this, Kerry, you for sure have heard this, that the real money is made in purchasing, not in sales, or not only in sales.
So you have to have the sales in order to do the purchasing, right?
Well, you can purchase before, of course, everything and not sell, but yes, it makes, you get the sales, but then, the cheaper you buy, the more money, of course, you made. But yes.
Yeah, well,
more sales if you want to play again.
Yeah. In the U.S., like when a contractor bids for a construction project, after they get the award, the first thing they do is go back and try to cut the costs and get the suppliers to lower their costs, right? To lower the bill, right?
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, hey, so tell us some success stories, things that you've been able to achieve for clients. You gave us one example, some overpayments you found, and that led to them saving not all the money in the world, but hey, it's a process, right? Every savings leads to more savings.
So, I mean, another success, again, this one, the beauty accessories products, it was, again, the first product was like 500,000 units ordered a year, $1 cheaper is $500,000 saved. Original purchasing price was $6, so it was 3 million, and those 27% out of 3 million were 810,000, just saved on product number one, went in with the other 7 or 8 products, and then it was a savings of 14 million just by changing from China to Vietnam or in general, looking for a new supplier. Now, another one that was a cosmetics brand, so creams and cosmetics. I think it was a business of around like $26 million. Also, hats off. He built this in 3 years from scratch to $26 million in revenue. That's pretty neat. And in the first 8 months, back then my wife was still doing it alone, but she saved in the first 8 months $1.4 million. And if he's had, I think back then, $2.5 million in profit or so, an additional $1.4 million, I think we're like 46% or something on there, like as additional profit.
That's amazing.
Finding, I mean, another thing is, of course, if let's go for some big electronics companies, Fortune 500s, I can't give a name there about this specific product. But when they couldn't produce anymore during the chips crisis. Why? Right. Well, because their previous suppliers, they didn't have any stock of computer chips anymore and memory modules. And why not? Well, because they also only looked into their own typical sourcing channels. And we said, guys, it doesn't, if you're looking always in the same spot and there is nothing, then there's a very good book like the Cheese Manager or the Mice Manager, I think. If you start looking in the same thing, or when you lost your key and you're looking at night under the street light and the key's not there, you will not find it there. It may be somewhere in the dark. And we actually went in and then later found, as weird as it sounds, but electronic chips in textile producers literally under the pillows, because they knew something was going to happen. They knew the market is going to crash in terms of chips. So they bought empty the market, stocked everything in their own as a textile trading company. They knew what's going to happen. I can charge 10, 20, 50, or sometimes 100 times the price of some of the products, 100% upfront payment with no invoice. And really? Believe me, how what's the English word? How the big clients were really like needing it, how they were desperate.
Yeah, they didn't even, that's the problem. They don't necessarily know they need it until you do it, right? Until they find you and you show them the way.
Yeah. And I mean, many of them could still not buy because, I mean, obviously those are not ways that could be according to their compliance. But some other electronic companies, of course, without saying the details, but they went in and bought chips because they knew, all right, it doesn't matter. We need to buy them. And then they could produce in 2-digit millions again, finally. Well, somewhat outperforming legal or not so legally their competitors. And there's tons more. Finding alternative producers, getting your products nearshoring, the production closer to your home. So maybe you're even in the same economic region, you can get much, much better payment terms. Let's say, for example, like 90 days net or whatever, 3% discount on 30 days payment after receiving the goods. You may, by switching over your supply chain also towards nearshoring, order smaller batches, but more frequently, you have less bound capital. And with delayed payments, you may build up a positive cash flow. On the other hand, you don't have like 7, 8, 9 weeks seat time. No, because you throw it on a truck and it's going to be there in 3 days. And all of those things may, of course, I mean, there's tons of stories that you could share to my purchase.
Hey, I'm sure you got a lot of them like we all do, right? Yeah. So, so when you're approaching, when a client, you agree to do business with them, what's the first thing you do with them?
I mean, usually, of course, when it comes to really getting started with the sourcing, it is of understanding the product. It's not like, they come to me, it's like, where's the best market? That's usually what they say is like, so where do I best buy products? I'm saying like, I need to understand the product. Because, getting freshly squeezed orange juice from Alaska is maybe not the best choice.
Yeah, not a good idea.
And getting bamboo out of Europe is maybe also not the best idea. So we would be looking at the product, of the way how it's being made, What are the main components? And when we, for example, say, can I give this as an example?
Sure.
I'm thinking right now if I should or not. Or let's say it's just some kind of basket out of felt material and some bamboo holdings or frames around it. So the question is like whether it makes sense to, get it from Europe, because Europe doesn't really have bamboo. Should it be a bamboo producer, on the other hand, in Asia who doesn't really know about textile? Or should it be, on the other hand, a textile producer somewhere in the Asian region, depending on which country, of course, looking, of course, into the import tariffs or looking into the customs duties, and saying whether a textile company who would purchase bamboo frames from somewhere else would be the right choice to look into. So without understanding the product, you can't really understand where the product should come from.
Gotcha.
I mean, with the focus of making it the most affordable. You can produce this here, of course, in Germany, but it will be probably like 10 times the price.
All right. Hey, makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you got to pay the price to get the quality you want. Other times, it just makes it. Well, hey, appreciate you coming on, Sebastian. Just tell us, how do we connect with you on the web? Where do we find you? How do you work with people?
Kerry, thanks a lot. For this real great offer. It's nice to be here. Quite simple. Go to zignify.net, Z in the beginning, Y in the end. So zignify.net. And there's just a booking calendar. Just book a call. Doesn't cost anything. We'll have a chat and we'll hop on a call and see and explore if there's possibilities to find additional producers and better prices for your products, and or if it's possible, of course, to reduce the purchasing cost. And I think this would be the very, very easiest. Zignify.net and just book a call.
All right. Hey, appreciate you coming on. And if you got a question for Sebastian or myself, shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. You'll find a link to Sebastian's site in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. While you're there, please sign up for a free newsletter. You get a lot of great info like what Sebastian's sharing with you here. And Sebastian, we'll definitely talk to you again. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much from my side.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.